when I went on my own, I had to sort of replicate zoetrope, which I did. You know, first we started out on my house, and I, you know, we built a little tiny screening room, and then we put a little TAC mixing machine in, and you know, so we slowly built up because we had to have a place to mix the movies, we had to have a place to cut the movies, and we had to have everything I've done literally to be, you know, in the backwoods by myself to create the capability of making movies. And it was very hard then, as I said, you know, the equipment was very expensive, the process was very expensive, but, and that's why I developed a lot of the technology over the years, was to make that more simply and much cheaper, much more simple process. So that was really how the company got created. Then, and obviously, I was not happy with Hollywood. I didn't want anything to do with them. And I didn't. I never made a movie in Hollywood, actually. I've made them everywhere else but Hollywood. And as a result, you know, I had to have all my own stuff. As a result of that, I said, why should we use this equipment and this stuff when we can make it better? Because we want to, you know, because I've worked. You know, I was an editor and stuff, and I said, I hate this. And I started at 16, went in 35, ripped up millions of sprocket holes, tore film, lost frames. You know, I said, this is stupid. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And in the process of Star Wars, there were no visual effects houses. So I had to invent one. And so I did that, and then as a process of that, learning about digital technology and learning about, you know, that sort of thing, I said, you know, we could make this better. We could take the computers and we can make editing better. We can make cinematography better. We can make visual effects better. It really started with visual effects and editing. And so it was just simply a matter of saying, there's so much stuff you can't do in visual effects that you want to do because it limits everything. In that time, you know, the industry was about street films. It was about contemporary films. You couldn't make a giant epic because nobody could afford to do it. And so they said, well, you can't do another Bible movie, for God's sakes. You know, nobody's going to go see it. You know, and they cost huge amounts of money. You got 10,000 extras. You got all this stuff, costumes and everything. You can't do it. There's not the market for it. There's no westerns. There's not a market for it. War movies. There's not a market for it. You know, the studios would do one a year, and there were like little pockets of epics made during that period. But most of them were street films. Most of them were films that were just, you know, psychological dramas, police dramas, all these kinds of things. I said, you know, it's too bad because epics and, you know, to be able to have your imagination go anywhere in the world you want it to go is great. That's the fun part of making movies. But if you're restricted to say, well, we can only do this, it takes all the fun out of it. And so under that situation, after I did Star Wars, I took the leap. Once Star Wars was a hit, I had, out of defense, acquired the sequel rights because they figured it wasn't going to go anywhere. But nobody thought it was going to make any money. So it was like half of nothing is nothing. So they let me have the sequel rights because by that time with American Graffiti came out, it was a huge, huge success. And you know, I had a deal with them to do like $125,000 to write and direct Star Wars after American Graffiti, because I was writing American Graffiti during that, but I just had a deal memo. I hadn't actually finished it. I, you know, was the hottest director in Hollywood. And they said, oh my God, he's going to come and ask for $1 million. No director's ever gotten $1 million. Oh, what are we going to do? And Fox was sort of on the ropes. And so I went to them and I said, look, I'll take my salary. I'm not going to ask for $1 million. I signed the deal memo, and that's what I believe in. But everything is not mentioned in the deal memo, I'm going to relook at. And that was one, sequels, because I'd already written the 3 movies, and I knew I wanted to make them, regardless of whether the first one made any money or not. So I was operating on the fact the movie would be a turkey. They wouldn't want to make the next one. They would then say, well, we own the rights, you can't do it. And so out of that, I got the sequel rights. The licensing, which was the other part of this, didn't exist. Just there wasn't such a thing. So, especially in the movie business, a little bit in television, but not in the movie business, because it takes a year or two to make toys. You can't just do it, and the movie comes out, and it's out for 6 weeks, and that's the end of it. And a toy has to be out there for 6 months or a year. So nobody wanted to do that stuff, but what I wanted to do, because I assumed, with my experience before, both, well, especially American Graffiti, but they didn't advertise it or anything. They just threw it out there. And I said, I want to be able to build an audience for this thing. So the one thing there was in licensing was posters and T-shirts. And you can make those deals really easy. So I said, if I get the licensing, I can make a whole bunch of T-shirts and posters, and I can send people out to Disneyland and everywhere, and I can advertise the movie. And so, and that obviously, everybody thought I was really brilliant, but I was really just protecting myself. And what happened after that was, the Star Wars came out, then suddenly we went to a toy company, we helped them build these little action figures, not G.I. Joes, you know, and stuff, but little ones. And they became very successful, and we ended up making a lot of money. A little bit on the movie, but mostly on the, you know, movies don't make money. I got news for you. So I kept investing everything I had into the next movie and into the company. And at the same time, I had...
You were building your infrastructure.
Yeah, I had ILM. You know, it was 45 people in a little garage when it started. And as we started doing more movies, I was pushing them. You know, we were doing Empire Strikes Back, and then we got E.T., and, you know, I got my friends to start going there. And so we built it into a company because I had to support it in between my movies because I only made a movie every 3 years. So we built that up, and the same thing with Skywalker Sound, which was the original little company we used to mix films, and we built that. And I got to do what I really wanted to do, what Francis and I wanted to do with American Zoetrope, was to be able to build a bigger studio. I was just working out of a house in San Anselmo, which was, you know, not zoned to be a studio or anything, but that's where we made Star Wars. But after that, we built a bigger studio and had a great state-of-the-art mixing facility. ILM, we were bringing along to build a state-of-the-art, because I wanted it to be great.